Yesterday I went into the city to pick up some supplies, and I remembered one of those moments where I felt like life or someone above was giving me a sign that I was on the right path. Last year during the holiday season, I unfortunately had an uncle who passed away. When I moved from California to the East Coast, I actually lived with him and my cousins. Him and my aunt feel like my East Coast parents. My uncle was actually a jeweler in New Jersey for years. He used to tell me stories all the time about going into the jewelry district in New York, like back in the day, and how crazy it was. It was just something that we'd talk about every now and then. So one day my husband and I drive into the jewelry district to pick up some things, and I end up going to a store that I'd never been to before. The store is an institution. It's been there for years. I walk in, I end up talking to this man behind the counter who's super helpful. I start telling him a bit about my store. He tells me about his store and how it's been around for so long. I end up mentioning my uncle. And without skipping a beat, he goes, "Oh my gosh, I know him. I know your uncle. He used to come in here all the time." I legit thought he was pulling my leg because my uncle actually unfortunately had to close his shop during the previous recession. So he would not have been in the store for like 10 plus years. I think he could tell I didn't believe him, so he ended up going to the computer and pulling up my uncle's transaction history, which was crazy, and it showed up like that the last time he'd been in there was 2010. He then asked how he was doing, and unfortunately I had to tell him that he'd passed away a couple months ago. Both of us start to get watery eyes, and he tells me how wonderful he thought my uncle was. But he goes to me, "We were meant to meet." Moments like this as someone from beyond saying hello. I make my purchase, and as I'm heading out, he says, "Hey, I know you're starting out, but if you ever have any questions or need anything, just give me a call." Just lovely. So after that, I head to the car, live right on the other side of the Lincoln Tunnel, and as I'm doing the turn, all of a sudden we start to hear this like hard horn honking at us like crazy. We're like, "What the?" And I look over, and it is my cousin, my uncle's son. Over 100,000 people use the Lincoln Tunnel every day. The odds of this happening were tiny. Signal, "Pick up your phone." I tell him the jewelry store story, and he's like, "No way." And that whole afternoon just felt like a hug from my uncle. I just think it was a sign that I am meant to be doing this.